Michelle's best dish is actually a pot noodle and bread. Brilliant at doing it.
Steak.
She's great at that, and she
I
can do.
actually had to cook something yesterday.
I eat like a king, I do.
We had mince, and it was like it needed cooking, because
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the mince would need cooking, and you can't have it raw.
So I did it with lots of onions and carrot, and we had it
Oh, good.
today with potatoes on.
Was
Sort
it
of,
nice?
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was nice and wholesome.
Okay, right. So we're gonna crack on with Abergwyngregyn. And basically we're gonna look at this building and
It's not
Abergwyngregyn.
Greginiog, is it?
What?
It's not Greginiog.
No, it's Abergwyngregyn.
Oh, oh.
Where's
Yeah.
that?
Hang on. If you look at the bloody TV, you can see it. It's in North Wales near Bangor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, just northeast of Bethesda. Right. So it's a rather interesting place. I've actually been there. I've actually driven into the car park and nobody was there, and we drove out again. But yeah, but I've seen it, and it's quite a beautiful building, right?
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's it's obviously connected with the live shows and sort of strange, weird history that is sort of not rightly understood with the Welsh kings and so on. So this is where we're at now, and the one thing about this is that once you see it, you'll see how impressive it is. So to give you a guise onto this, it first came to my attention, I think, in the 1990s, and there was there was a man and wife, the Gibsons, and they were talking about the importance of this building, that they had bought it and they felt it was linked to the Welsh kings, the old kings of Cymru, and it was a very strange program that they were showing the evidence of this being part of the remains of this Welsh palace and that tower, or whatever that tower is. But there was another expert on there saying, look, they're completely wrong, that type of thing. But it's disguised. This whole thing, to me, is hits at the level of when we have a really nice history of our culture going back thousands of years. It's almost as if there's always somebody out there to knock it, or to distort it, or to alter it. And Abergwyngregyn is one of those examples. It's otherwise known as Pen-y-Bryn, P-E-N-Y Bryn, Pen-y-Bryn, right? And that's a really nice image of it as well. It's a two-story manor house in a place known as Abergwyngregyn in northwest Wales in Gwynedd. It is very close to the A55, and it's 5 miles east of Bangor and 8 miles west of Conway. So you go to Bangor and it's basically down the road on the A55, if you can ever get along the A55, because it's always congested. It is constructed mainly of broken stone with roughly dressed coins. So in other words, if we look at a little bit more detail there, you can see the rough stones, and you can see this is at the back of the tower because the tower's been rendered. So you can look at this at the back, and when this program that they were showing inside, they were looking around all the rooms. It looked really, really oldie woldy, and the house is situated within. It said it's situated within Garth Celyn, a double bank and ditch. Um, so it's sort of it's within a bank and ditched enclosure. So it's within something really, really, really old. Now, the whole thing about this, if you look and you can see this, if you go back to there, that building in front is no longer there. So that building in front was demolished in 1815. So it was an old sort of rackety building that was recorded in 1811 by the archaeologist stroke antiquarian, who was that great sort of digger of antiquities in Wiltshire, known as Sir Richard Colt Hall, who actually recorded that building. So this illustration goes back beyond 1850 when that building in front was demolished. And you can see the tower is a really oldie looking building. It's very odd. Even with that building in front, it's really, really odd looking building. And the modern photograph doesn't give it as much justice. So the present structure incorporates a 4-story stone tower. Now, the 4-story stone tower, if you look, now you're looking at that, you're thinking, right, okay, actually, the illustration looks very different. And you can see that it doesn't look the same as it looks now, right? It looks very different. One thing that has remained is this weird tower, which you can see now. Now, the tower itself is a very, very old tower indeed. And it's very, very old because when they dated the timbers within the tower, they dated to 1624. And in 1624 was the time that the building was refurbished. Now, 1624, to give you an idea, to give you a context, is the time that you've got the buildings at Llantrithid still being used, and you've got Boverton Place in Llantrith Major still being used. You've got the likes of East Orchard Castle in the Vale of Glamorgan still being used with a house with buildings with roofs and that sort of well-to-do aristocratic manor house stroke mansion landscape. So this is when this building was refurbished in 1624. But Llantrithid was a new build in the 1600s, whereas this building wasn't. This has been here for quite some time. There is evidence of long use with multiple buildings within this landscape underneath these buildings, underneath the building there, before 1624. But there is disagreement on the duration and the nature of the medieval use. So this is where we're going. What is this building about? What is the story? What is the history? Right? And understandably, that the people who actually, I've got a block nose, so my words ain't coming out as well as they should do. It's quite disconcerting that the people who actually bought it were really enthusiastic, and it was almost as if people were saying, it's not to do with the Welsh kings, right? However, right, in 1303, 1306, there is recorded that there was something going on at Aber in 1303, 1306, right? And there was something being said that there was large-scale works going on at Aber in 1303, 1306. Now, that's an interesting date. And the reason why it's interesting is as follows. By the way, Richard, if anyone comes on, just let them on, please. It's very interesting because, one, this is the place of the Welsh kings that would have been deposed from this location, and what this is, as we'll discuss in a moment, right? After 1283, right? So 20 years later, something else is built on something that originally existed there. And what we know of this building, and as we look at it, if we go to If we go and look at this and we're thinking, right, okay, this looks much more oldie worldy. This looks like the type of old building that you might find in a Dickensian film, right? Or, you know, a book by Charles Dickens, right? You can think of Great Expectations and that type of mansion, right? So this is when we're looking at about as we've already said, we're looking at this in 1811, right, at Abergwyngregyn. By the way, Goff, we're looking at Abergwyngregyn, North Wales, the place of the Welsh Palace, and we're just sort of looking at this structure. So this building itself, they've examined the footings of this building, right, and it turns out that the footings of this building um, definitely relate to an earlier building, right, that predates when this building was refurbished in 1624. Right, and what they're finding within the footings of this building, within the base of this building, they're actually finding bits of broken stone and lime from an earlier building. So obviously that ties in with what we know about of Aber in 1303. But what we've got to do, the thing is, right, the thing is, it's Julie Gibson, right, and her husband. You can probably see the video on YouTube or something, right? Now, now, they're really enthusiastic and they're saying, look, you know, this is actually the palace of the Welsh kings, the kings of Cymru, right? And experts are coming in and saying, no, it's not. But then again, why are people building here in 1303? Where are they getting the money from 1303? It's only 20 years after the Welsh kings have been deposed, right? But their enthusiasm is being really being hit, right? So the remains of the other candidates for this being a site of great historical importance to the Welsh kingship, right, is a mound nearby, right? But we need to stop there a moment and consider what we're thinking. And somewhere along the line, there's an amazing piece of history here, right? And it's actually being written about by the king's historian, John Leland, in the 1530s, right? So where's the big argument? And that's the problem. Where's the big argument? Because John Leland says that before 1303, this is actually the site of the Welsh kings, right? So it starts to make you wonder why, you know, if you go to Caerphilly Castle, nobody's going to argue over the origins of Caerphilly Castle, right? You go to Carnarvon Castle, nobody's going to argue over whether King Canute or Edward the First built it. It was definitely King Edward the First, you know. Nobody's going to argue over that. But maybe they should, right? But they don't. What I'm trying to say is that um, by the way, don't get distracted if you've got any news stuff on, because there's some upsetting news that's actually come through on my feed and I don't want to even hear about it. Anyway, cracking on with this. So the remains. So when we think about this, what we've got to do is that historians have said, actually, is this mound actually the place of the palace of the Welsh kings? And you're thinking, yeah, it's quite a small mound, really. It looks big, but you're not going to be able to do much on the top. And then there's all this juxtaposed with trying to understand what's going on. So this is known as the mound. MWD, which is Welsh for mound, right? So this is I'r Mound, the tump, right, which is quite descriptive in a way. Now this is thought to be, say, the other place of the other candidate of the place as high status of the palace of the Welsh kings, right? And interesting enough, there's it's like the strange thing is when we think about the orientation, is there's the mound, there's the building that we just looked at, right? So they're just within a stone throw. But what it is, it's like somebody saying, right, actually, the one at the bottom of the screen is nothing to do with the Welsh kings, and actually the one at the top is actually a mound built by the Normans, right? But the evidence, historical evidence, tells us that it's one of them, right? And it's just that sort of that it's that terrible argumentative stuff that we do in Welsh history and archaeology, instead of just accepting stuff as we would do with Cardiff Castle or Raglan Castle, right? You don't see anyone doubting Raglan Castle, right? Richard will tell you, you don't see many people arguing over the origins of Barry Castle. We might, but everyone else doesn't. So thinking about this, that when we look at the mound, however, going back to the mound, there it is. Going back to the mound, we do not now have masonry of broken stone and may not have been large enough to justify the quantities of materials needed. So it might not be this building, this mound. So it's obviously the one we looked at the beginning, looking at the Julie Gibson thing and the thing on television. In 1553, Rhys Thomas and his wife Jane acquired the house from the crown. Right, now that's rather interesting that it was acquired from the crown. Right, this is the house itself acquired from the crown. So that means that it was ended up in the hands of the crown. Right, why? However, that was in 1553, and the present roof timbers, as we know, which are in that tower, right, were felled the latest in 1624. They would have been used straight away. The tower, it said, some people argue that the tower is not the earliest part of the building, right? Is actually a later addition to the building, right? And some people argue that it is very late. It goes into the 1700s, but the evidence of the timbers in there tell us that the timbers were used in the 1620s, right? So, and it looks a very, very odd building, but a very odd structure indeed. Now, the thing is, if you go back to this illustration, it looks quite an old building, and actually, it reminds me again of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Remember that Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? And you see the beginning of the film, and they go to this house, and like the person that they stay with, because they're war children, aren't they? The person that they stay with, is actually in a house like this, right? Very interesting. So this is a sepia drawing by Sir Richard Colt Hall. This is how it actually did look in 1811, right? So it's when we there are lots of names given for this building actually, and we don't only have the name Abergwyngregyn. We have the name of the building at Penryn, right? And there's also another name for it known as Garth Celyn, right? Which is actually the bank and ditch enclosure that this building's in, right? So Penryn is, they describe it, the Royal Commission on Ancient Historical Monuments, where that other image is from at the end, right? The Penryn, they argue that this is a large barn-like structure, right? You can fool me, and it's very interesting, right? Okay, chuck that in there. Maybe it's a barn that's been made bigger, right? Maybe it's a tithe barn. Okay, I'm just chucking that in there. But it's a building associated with the Welsh kings, right? And again, the word Garth Celyn, or Celyn, if anyone knows the Welsh, Celyn means holly, right? So it's the Holly Hill. So it's hill Garth, as in Gwalda Garth, in Garth, the Garth, which you can see as you go up to the valleys, that's the Garth, and the Garth meaning hill. So this is the place um, of of the hill with holly, or the Holly Hill. Um, and sometimes it was known as Abergwyngregyn, and it's obviously changed its name a number of times since 1725. One of the biggest problems that I find with looking at Welsh records is place names, because they do change a lot, right? Because where I live, I was doing some research recently, and I thought, right, what's the name of the property where I live? And it had one name, and then you've got another name, and you've got all these different names around. And sometimes, if Richard knows this, if you look at tithe maps and you've got the tithe, the house might be owned by Joe Bloggs, in the House of Erica, and then 10 years later, the House of Erica is given a completely different name, but it's still owned by Joe Bloggs, right? So there is a problem with place names and trying to find things, and that's the problem. That is exactly the problem. That is the historical problem. Somebody's basically said, Garth Kelling was where X, Y, and Z was. Where's Garth Kelling? And is it talking about the enclosure, or is it talking about the house? Pen y Bryn, is this Pen y Bryn, or is it the hill that I've already just shown you, the other hill, right? Um, so is it talking about this? So thinking about this really interesting landscape, and putting this landscape together, if we got the two there quite close.
Hmm.
Um, the area of Garth Kelling is actually a scheduled ancient monument, a site of national importance, and an excavation was undertaken in 1993 by the Gwynedd Archaeological Trust. And what they did on the ground plan of our building here, particularly at the rear of it, right, particularly at the rear, that that they found out that the complex included other structures, including a barn, gatehouse. Some of it may have been rebuilt in the 1700s, and the present tower. So, so trying to fit all of this in, right? And yes, we will sign over to the Iron Age in a few moments. But making a fuss over this, and sort of, you can see this at a different angle, right? And it's obviously been rendered, and obviously a very strange shaped tower. It's not exactly circular. It's quite an odd shape. And the Garth Kelling Trust exists to protect and preserve Garth Kelling for the benefits of present and future generations, to create a lasting memorial to the princes and their achievements. Right, so obviously they're using the Principus name for the kings of Cymru, Wales, which is fine. We'll go with that. We're not going to argue that. So the trust identifies modern Garth Kelling as actually the site of the Royal Llys Palace from the 1200s, and the centre of government before the conquest by Edward I. Right, and suggests that many notable events in Welsh history occurred here. Now that is really, really important. And if I do get up to North Wales in any time soon, I'll take a photograph of this. We'll have it on a canvas and in the live show, and we'll basically have the Murray Lloyd, with my assistant on stage, Azealia. Why don't we have a little look at this, and we'll get enthusiastic, and we'll basically say, why is this house recognised as the place of the old kings of Cymru, Wales? There are local traditions pointing to Pen y Bryn, modern Garth Kelling, Bryn Llewellyn, as the site of the Royal Fleece. So it's also known as Bryn Llewellyn, the place of, Bryn. Start again. The place of King Llewellyn, right? Llewellyn's Hill, Llewellyn's Tump. Within, it makes sense. You got Garth Kelling, the place of the Holly Tree, the Hill of the Holly Tree, the Hill of Llewellyn. It makes sense. So these claims, some people disagree this locally. So a royal llys of the Welsh kings, princes, or whatever you want to call them, was located at Abergwyngregyn in November 1282. Prince Llewellyn ap Gruffydd dated letters to the Archbishop of Canterbury, and basically they were dated as going from Garth Celyn. So, you can't get more, you know, descriptive than that. It's called Garth Celyn today, right? And Llewellyn ap Gruffydd, the second to last king of Wales, because his brother was the last king. He's writing letters from here, right, which says Garth Celyn with a K rather than a C, right? I was told there's not a K in Welsh, but that's something else. But anyway, the other point as well is thinking about this building and thinking about the texture of the landscape. And again, I put this map on you. Basically, I've just chucked this on you to basically say, what we've got is we've got a plan of lots of castles and fortified places in Cymru, Wales, but there's a lot more than this. And again, looking at the back, and you're thinking, right, okay, so maybe in this tower, or maybe the tower was built after, but maybe in this tower, this is where those letters were written to the Archbishop of Canterbury by Llewellyn ap Gruffydd from Garth Celyn. So in 1537, if you could add Pat on, please, thank you. In 1537, John Leland reported on this site. John Leland, if you can remember, is the king's historian, right? He's the king's cartographer. He's the king's writer. Right now, John Leland was an antiquarian who by the year 1540 was going blind. However, he's getting his scribes to write the following: the mound in the parish of Aber, otherwise known as Llan Bodin, right? Bodin, right? So a Llan Bodin, yeah, and where he actually then does say about Tywysog, Llywelyn, Ab, Gerwydd, Trundon, right? Which is basically, if anyone knows, Tywysog, prince, leader, king, Llywelyn, ap Gruffydd, right, had a castle or palace on a hill by the church, whereof yet part standeth. So basically, even the king's historian is telling us that this is the place of where King Llewellyn once was before his death on the 11th of December 1282. So it's a high status structure, and so we've got material here, right? Material at this, not the mound, but obviously we've got other stuff at the mound, but that's another talk. A high status structure associated with the 1300s, material, and thought to be the royal palace with its domestic and administrative buildings. What that building was in front is very interesting because we don't know, because it was demolished by 1815. Remember, this is an illustration from 1811 by Cold Hall. But when we look at Welsh palaces, palaces of the old kings of Cymru, if you go to St Fagans, they've done a reconstruction of a Welsh palace, a Welsh llys, right? And you'll notice there is a collection of a load of buildings like this. Leave that there. So obviously what we do have is that they're saying as well that the whole complex of buildings includes this mound actually. And in fact, the landscape is dominated with buildings associated with these two, and possibly stretching over a much bigger area, because there is the church. So this whole landscape was a landscape of the Welsh kings and so on, right? And as I mentioned, this is where the Gwynedd Archaeological Trust excavated. So everything comes into play when trying to understand this landscape. And what we do find, so we go down to the valley bottom, because that's where the mound is, right? And over, it's saying 185 meters. It says a lot more than that. But what we have is obviously this entire landscape um, was a visible landscape in 1811 after Colt Hall, with visible remains supposedly linking to the old kings, the old princes of Cymru. Right, so we've got a note online before what we're going to do. We're going to have a little bit of questions, and then we're going to set up the prehistoric stuff in a few moments. But somebody's written online, primogeniture was not the Welsh way. So in other words, that's basically where the king or the um, where the leader would make sure that everyone's subservient and so on. But anyway, a larger area might begin with one name, but at the descendants inherited, the land was divided, right? And obviously, you know, the whole landscape divided. Primogeniture as well is that sort of thing that it doesn't go with the first member of the family. It's sort of divided amongst the landscape, and it's very likely that at some stage the landscape was divided if it remained in Welsh hands or not, which is probably highly unlikely. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a break. Thanks for that, Meg, online. If that made any sense, and but thanks for your contributions, and obviously lots of other interesting things within the landscape of the Clwydian Rage, including Moel Arthur. Right, so what we are going to do is we're going to see if there's any questions on any of that, and we will then have a 10-minute break, and I will get a cup of tea and I will shout at the ducks, and that'll be it. So I tell you what, just chuck the questions out at me now. Ruth, Anne, Richard.
Oh,
Nothing from me. Nah.
I got proof there was a tsunami in 1746.
Why? Hang on. Why have you chucking that in there for? A tsunami in 1746.
Yeah,
What's that got to do with what we've just done?
I know. I just telling you because I forgot to tell you.
Come on a minute. You can't just chuck a tsunami in it.
Oh,
They said
1746, I think it was. I took a picture of the where I found it, so I'll send it.
Are you
over.
sure it's not the? Are you sure it's not the tsunami of 1607?
No.
Well, I don't know about the tsunami of 1746. Yeah, so just confirm this. So the primogeniture itself is obviously the right of succession belonging to the firstborn, especially the feudal rule. And obviously, I was mentioning that as well in the sense of this sort of this Norman controlling way of doing things, but which was very different than the Welsh way. Right. So right about 1746. I've actually got to look that up. Anything from
I've got a photo of it. I'll send it over to you.
Please do, please do. Anything from you, Goff, or Pat, or Kate, or anything before we have a quick break?
No.
Where are we? I
Only
keep
that. Are you asking about what you've just talked about?
Oh no, Pat wants to know. We're in North Wales, and what I'll do is I'll just show you that bit.
Okay.
We just yeah, there was some kind of earthquake that occurred in 1746. It was a tsunami in Lima, Peru, with a massive earthquake ravaged Lima, a bustling city, and yes, that would have been quite a tsunami that went inland with an earthquake and stuff. But anyway, that's something else. So we'll just show you this quickly, and then we'll have our quick break, right? Because I don't have a woman to give me a cup of tea, and nor does Richard, nor does
Nor do
nor does
I.
Scott. So this is where we are.
I've got
There it is.
Oh, right. Oh,
That's where it is, the blue dot.
right,
So we
right.
just looked at Abergwyngregyn. So we will have a break, and we'll just have a quick break because I need to get a cup of coffee down me to deal with this throat. It's to do with some acting and shouting that I've done recently. So right, we'll have a quick break. So it's 7:41. We'll be back at 7:50. So talk amongst yourselves, and Goff wants to make a cup of tea as well.
okay.
Right.
That was that.
Right, right. I've got to eat my dinner, so I'm going to disappear. But I'll be right here. I'll be listening. I'll be listening in. So, if you want
Okay. Then what we're gonna do? We're gonna end this bit of the recording now, right? So Meg and whatever. So we'll end this bit of the recording, and we will be back on at about as I said 7:50. So Meg and everybody else online, just come back in a few minutes. So we'll end this recording now.
How are you, Richard?
See what let me do.
It's Pat. Oh, he's got to get his.
Oh, I'm fine.
Are you okay?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
up to
Fine.
anything? You
Pardon,
going out?
thanks?
You doing anything?
No, not at the moment.
No.
Waiting for the weather to pick up again.
Oh, I went to the Eisteddfod. In Pontypridd. The Eisteddfod.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We brought the whole family. That was something else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
my
yeah.
son, my daughter, her one child, so that's one grandson, a teenager, two toddlers, and a
Wow.
mother-in-law. So there were 8 of us. And we got on the train in Sarn and in Pencook, the train there. So it was an adventure.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, we walked around, and I'm having trouble walking now, so I've got a 3-wheeler, I call it, my 3-wheeler. It's like a walker that folds, and has 1 wheel in the front and 2 on the side. So
Oh, yeah.
I zip around in that. My son got me a motorized one, but I'm not ready for that yet. So anyway, it's called what's it called? It's called osteoporosis. That's what it is. Yeah, on my back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, everybody's got something.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But anyhow, we're going to go back to the Eisteddfod tomorrow because he's going to meet a Welsh friend, and we're going to see the meeting. Well, I'm not going to go to it. The meeting of the Argentina Welsh people and the Welsh people that are going to meet together. The Argentine Welsh.
Oh, yeah.
He's been down there twice. He's been twice to Patagonia to see everybody there. So. Yes, speaks Welsh. We got 3 grandchildren speak Welsh and 2 children speak Welsh. So
Oh, wow.
I've been here 40 years and I still don't speak Welsh.
Yeah.
Anyhow, right. So we were grocery shopping, so that's why I'm feeding my face now. So talk among yourselves.
Oh, I've lost me. There I am.
Ruth's phone. Yeah.
I'm just trying to work this thing out.
No. You can rename yourself if you want.
Eh?
You can rename if you want to rename. You go up to the 3 little dots on the right-hand side. Up where your name is.
I'm on a mobile, so it's not that easy.
Oh, I suppose not. Oh, but if you look where your face is, go up to the upper right-hand corner and see if anything happens.
No, nothing.
No, nothing happens. Okay.
Oh, hang on.
3 dots?
Hang on. Oh, hang on, I tapped something and something come up.
Well, the 3 dots will give you a choice of things to do. Click it. And at the very bottom, it says rename.
No. It won't come back up now.
Oh,
I don't
know.
I don't know where I clicked to.
Yeah.
That one? Oh, there it is. Where are we?
The bottom
Caption.
one says rename.
Oh. Apps more. More. Meeting setting. No. No.
And mine says mute by auto, start video, choose
You want to see that thing about the horses and goats?
No.
No, someone's sending messages. Oh, there's messages.
Well, what does it say?
Knob. Goats and horses very strong bond, and they can make you happy if they are willing and able, and they are very happy with the result and the fact that they can make your life easier for them.
What the hell are you on about?
That was a message on the meeting.
Oh, I see the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Got it?
MH. Knob.
Yeah.
That what he's known as?
Life.
Well.
I can't stop the blooming recording on bloody YouTube.
Oh no.
Oh.
Find the right button.
We'll be back on now in a minute.
What's that?
We'll be back on now in a minute.
Yeah, I know. I'm just doing my coffee.
Oh dear. And I just found out how to do things, so I'm having a fiddle.
Yeah.
Don't fiddle too much.
I know.
Your hand will fall off.
Oh, this is interesting.
What are you looking at?
About the goats.
That's just one little message.
What's that one then?
What's what?
You got a heart on me now.
Are you on Facebook or something?
It's on reactions, and I got a heart on me now. It's gone. Oh, don't! I love playing with things.
Yeah.
Captions. Oh no! Don't tell me. Oh no, I won't mess about because I'll delete all the meeting and everything by the time I finish. Well, I've had another fish added to my tank now.
Oh, what kind?
I've got Bruce. He's a parrotfish,
Oh, lovely.
and he came with 3 bleeding hearts. And my son's just brought me an angelfish.
Oh, I like angelfishes. Yeah, they're lovely. Black and white?
Parrotfish. Chased him round for the first 2 days, but he's leaving him alone now.
Do you want an axolotl?
What?
Do you want an axolotl?
What's one of them?
It's basically this newt thing that lives in water that eats worms.
You can put it in my tank if you want.
Not with your
Oh
trap.
no, he eats everything.
Oh.
Oh no!
Hang on a minute. Hang on. Who's just joined us?
I don't know.
Juliet. Judith. Was it?
Judith.
Judith. Jude. What? Oh God, we're being outnumbered in this group now.
Judith, yeah. I just clicked her on now.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with Judith.
Oh, hiya.
Oh.
Judith's a stalker. She's booked to go to all of the 5 live shows.
Sorry, this noise is me banging around in the freezer looking for something to eat.
Yeah.
Sorry. Found it.
We're going to get started in a moment.
I'm going up to Scotland Monday, so I'll be up in Scotland next week.
Wow. Whereabouts? Whereabouts in Scotland?
Edinburgh.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
Oh, what you gonna do?
Oh, my fiance lives there. I live in Barry in Wales, and he lives in Edinburgh.
That's handy.
Going up there for a couple of weeks.
So who's moving? Anybody moving, or are you both going to keep the way in?
No, we've been together 9 years and stay apart.
Great stuff.
I love it.
I always want to go back to that house. Was that? Have they got a fancy house to see in Edinburgh or not? I can't remember.
Well,
He's
he
in?
lives in the middle of nowhere. So
Right.
it's
Does
in
he
the
have
middle of
animals?
nowhere.
Is he got little animals or?
He's got like a house in a farmsteading,
Mm-hmm.
and there's 4 houses in